Okay, so we're doing alright. Okay, nice. Let's see if anyone shows up because I'm starting super fucking late. It is my fault for starting super late because I have a problem with reading comics and then getting engaged with the comics that I read. Okay. Alright, let's see. Oh, Josiah's here. And Adam. Josiah says you're still wrong about All-Star Batman and Robin, by the way. Well, I mean, apparently some people felt that way. I got like a lot of people unsubscribing from the channel after I posted that video. Which is funny because like that's something I said in the stream. Like, I mean, okay, I don't know, but I liked it. I like it a lot. Hello, Green Beanie. What's up, Adam? How you doing, buddy? Every time someone like brings up the Green Beanie, it's here in my backpack. I'm just not putting it on. It's hot as fuck. It is hotter than Sasha Grey's balls, so I am not doing that. Yeah. What do you guys check out this week in terms of like comics? I mean, obviously, but I'm sure there are like some movies that came out and whatnot. What movies did come out this week? I can't think of any. Adam says, my cousin just finished Kingdom Come and told me, this is peak fiction. Is the sequel better? Poor unfortunate soul. Hold the fuck up. There's a sequel to Kingdom Come? I know there's like prequels and like nebulous prequels. Like I think Justice is considered a prequel. But like I don't know. Is there anything else left in the Kingdom Come universe? Weird. Why? Just why? Sounds stupid. I mean, it could be good, but like I don't know. I mean, the way you're talking about it makes it sound like it makes it sound like you thought it was terrible. But who knows? I also like All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder, so my judgment is very clearly askew. It's called The Kingdom. There's a reason we don't talk about it. And yes, I did get my dread situation fixed. Yeah. Very, very expensive. But it looks good on camera. I think it looks good on camera. I think it looks nice in real life. It is weird when like, okay, I have a whole thing where when I'm talking to people, I have a thing where I apparently make people feel very comfortable around me, and sometimes people get a little too comfortable around me. So sometimes people will be like, "Oh my god, like I love talking to you. Like, oh, your hair is so nice. Can I touch your hair?" It's like, "Boo! I don't know where your hands have been. Get the fuck away from me." Ah. Yeah, no, I don't like people touching my hair. My stylist can touch my hair. My mom can touch my hair. My dad, God rest his soul, when he was alive, he could touch my hair. My girlfriend can touch my hair. That's it. No one else can touch my hair. I'm very weird about it. Oh, that's not really weird. That's just like personal boundaries, right? Fellows, is it weird to set like personal boundaries? I don't know. I don't think so. What's up, Supreme? How you living, buddy? Hello. On Kamala. Damn, you're just jumping right into it. On Kamala, mutant thing. God, X-Men fans can be annoying. Goddamn right. I feel like I'm just gonna. I feel like I like want to lean into this like whole, like, fire stoking of a war that I'm brewing between the X-Men fans and like literally everyone else. But the X-Men fans started it, just by being annoying. Sorry. But God, X-Men fans can be annoying because they are happy that Kamala is going to be a mutant with words like the Inhumans are always lame and they're Kirby's worst creations. Well, I disagree because the Eternals exist, so I don't know. It's funny that like a lot of X-Men fans are. I mean, I haven't seen that. Well, no, I have. I saw like one post on Twitter about that, but like I didn't see anything else beyond that. But I have seen a lot of X-Men fans, kind of like dogging the Inhumans fans, which, to be fair, kind of justified, because for like 5 or 6 years, simply because Marvel wants to turn themselves into a pipeline synergy engine for all of their content and homogenize everything they own. Because they didn't have the film rights to the X-Men, Fox Studios did. I mean, you guys know this, but there was that whole thing where the sorry, that was a baby burp. But the X-Men, being owned by a different studio, that didn't go over too well with the folks over at Disney Marvel, and that prompted the editors and the higher ups at Marvel Comics to just completely axe the X-Men. It's like, oh, are there mutants in the story? How about bitch? No. What can we replace them with, though? The Inhumans are kind of similar, right? They're like a weird, you know, they're mutant-ish people. They're mutated humans that mutate. They're mutates. So just get the Inhumans and put them in the mutant section, and then we're just gonna get rid of the mutants. We're gonna act like they don't exist. And it sucks because like X-Men fans were not having a good time with any of that bullshit, and Inhumans fans weren't having a good time with any of that bullshit because Marvel essentially took the Inhumans, which are like a square peg, and tried to fit them in a circular hole. It didn't work. No matter how many times Marvel kept. I should stop doing this motion. Maybe my twist. No, way worse. But no, it just wasn't working. You know, like Marvel. Like, no, so on the one hand, I get it. You know, on the one hand, I understand X-Men fans just like throwing the middle finger to Marvel, saying like, "Hey, screw you! We took your prized Inhuman and made her a mutant." But on the other hand, like, if you're, like, actually a Kamala Khan fan, if you're, like, actually a comic book fan, I mean, it's not, like, it doesn't suck because it's, like, just an MCU change, but it is scary, because Marvel they have a track record of saying, oh, what's going on in the movies? Let's just adapt that to the comics and say that's always been the case, huh? And that goes well beyond the confines of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I remember Marvel doing that back when I was like a little kid with like Spider-Man, you know, like in the not MCU, but the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies where Peter has the organic webbing that comes out of his wrists for no fucking reason in those films. Sorry, I know a lot of people like those films. And they're really charming. You know, I should just lighten. I need to lighten up on them. They're entertaining flicks. It's just I've read the James Cameron script where the organic webbing idea comes from, and it's infinitely more fascinating in that script meant that James Cameron did in like 1992 or whatever. Which, if you want to check that out, I did a whole video on that. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you know, check it out. Go for it. Yeah, no, like Marvel Comics was like, oh, Peter Parker shoots webbing out of his wrist organically. Let's do a whole event centered around how Peter gets that new ability. Why? Why do you need to do that? Why do you feel the need to do that? You know, or how Bryan Singer wanted the X-Men to wear, like, you know, S&M leather jackets for the X-Men movies. And then they got, like, adapted into the comics. Granted, I like those comics, and I like that aesthetic for the X-Men. I actually prefer it to the classic, you know, more superheroic take on the X-Men. But still, like, why? Why? Just because the movie's doing it doesn't mean the comic has to do it. It always kind of goes back to that thing that I never really understood with Marvel and DC to a far lesser extent, because I don't think DC gives a shit a lot of the times what their movies or like any other branch of their entertainment like studio is doing. But you know, Marvel especially, because they're all about synergy. It's like, no, but like, see, if the people who watch the movies, they're gonna be super confused if they come out of the movie theater and they go to a comic book store, and you know, if Thor, he's Donald Blake, but he's also Thor. I don't understand. So we have to get rid of Donald Blake and just make him Thor all the time. Like, you don't have to do that, because, I mean, realistically, how many people are coming from the movie to read your comics, which are infinitely less accessible than a 2-hour blockbuster, you know, turn your brain off and veg out for 2 hours movie. And also just, you know, of the people who are willing to do that, who are willing to leave a movie theater and then go read the comic book version of that character, I'm betting you, like, this is one of the things where I would bet cash money, because I'm sure I'd win this bet, that those people who are, like, willing to do that have the mental fortitude to recognize that the comics and the movies are two very different things. Therefore, you don't have to, the comics don't have to, like, you know, tuck their balls between their legs and then, like, bow down at the feet of whatever the fuck the movie adaptation is doing. Like, you don't have to do that. You know, some people are smart enough to recognize the difference between comics and films. So, I don't know. The whole synergy thing has always been silly to me. And it's, like, always born out of this, like, you know, it's born out of this, like, weird paranoia that I don't think is necessarily warranted. But it's just a thing you kind of get used to. Adam says, the last remnants of Kingdom is when Superman from Kingdom Come appeared in JSA and Johns' run. I remember that, but I didn't know that was, like, part of a pre-established thing. Granted, I didn't read the tail end of Jeff Johns' JSA run. I just know that, like, Kingdom Come Superman, like, merges with, not merges with, but, like, he jumps universes and comes to the main DC universe. But doesn't he do that beforehand? You know, because I thought Kingdom Come Superman was also in the first arc of Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness's Batman Superman story. The Public Enemies one. Enemies. I think the movie's called Public Enemies. I don't remember what the title of the actual comic is. But there's like a whole subplot where Superman is going to inadvertently cause the future to shit itself by doing a thing. So Kingdom Come Superman, which DC was kind of at this point treating the Kingdom Come universe as a very possible future, which is always funny when DC does that because those near possible futures almost never come to fruition. But Kingdom Come Superman goes back in time and like tells Captain Atom to like help him stop, real Superman. So I always thought that that's how Kingdom Come Superman joined the main DC universe, but apparently there's like a whole ass sequel to Kingdom Come, which Adam just thinks is the worst thing in the world. Supreme Omega says, on superhero universes, it's a pity that there is no other shared superhero universe that could compete with the big two. Sure, there were Milestone and Valiant, but they didn't work out, sadly. Yeah, well, that's kind of the unfortunate thing, and I was talking about this with a buddy of mine who I kind of do want to have on the show at some point to talk about this exact, I guess you call it a situation, or a problem. When it comes to Milestone and Valiant, the problem that Milestone faced is that it had a lot of steam, It started out really strong, and then it just kind of the engines just got tuckered out. It's sad, but like that happens. And Valiant, well, I'll keep on the Milestone train for a second. The kind of like sad and irritating thing with Milestone is that they kept trying to bring it back. The problem is that none of the creative teams that DC hired to rehab or reboot the Milestone universe really gelled with the characters within the Milestone universe. So every subsequent attempt at bringing it back or bringing Milestone back just kind of rang hollow. And unfortunately, that's the case with the current Milestone universe. Blood Syndicate doesn't feel like Blood Syndicate. It feels like a very shallow, watered down version of Blood Syndicate. Static Season 0 is, well, the art's really good, and that's the nicest thing I can say about that comic. Outside of that, it does not feel like Static. Virgil Hawkins does not feel like Virgil Hawkins. Why does Static get his powers at a BLM rally instead of, I don't know, a gang shootout, which is the crux of his character and the inciting incident for not only how he gets his powers, but the call to action to be a superhero. Like, it's a big character moment for Static to go to a gang meetup and shoot his bully, and then at the last second choose to not do that because he doesn't want to, try to prove his manhood in such a toxic manner. I mean, just it's such a beautiful evergreen origin, and one that I think is probably the best, or one of the best. Actually, no, I will say it's the best superhero origin, second to Spider-Man in my opinion. I legitimately think Static has the second best superhero origin in comics. But then just to change I don't know. I get they're trying to be timely, but Jesus, just not good. No. But yeah, no, it sucks because like I was one of those dudes who's like, bring back Milestone, and then DC is finally able to bring back Milestone, and now I'm just kind of going like, I wish you didn't bring back Milestone. Jesus. Yeah, that's the problem with Milestone. Milestone, I feel like a lot of the creative teams that are pulled in to revitalize that brand just don't mesh with the characters in that universe at all. Now, on the problem of Valiant. Valiant has always been baby Marvel, you know? Valiant is a universe that is clearly, unabashedly ripping off. I'll say inspired. They're inspired by the Marvel universe. The problem is that Valiant never fully. I don't think they take their characters far enough, in the sense that with Spider-Man, there are narrative constraints that the character has, simply because he's a corporate character, he's a corporate entity. Spider-Man is a lucrative brand, you know. The intellectual property of Spider-Man, of Peter Parker Spider-Man in particular, is very well protected, and that hinders legitimate storytelling potential that the character has. Valiant does not have this problem, but they treat their characters like they do, and they never take their characters far enough. It's the reason why the Valiant universe just kind of feels, I don't know, not spectacular, you know, not remarkable. I don't know, mundane. I don't know. That's just kind of the problem that Valiant has. It's Marvel 2.0 minus the brand recognition that Marvel has. But you know, hopefully, one of these days someone's gonna get it. One of these days someone's gonna get it. And they're gonna figure out why the Invincible universe works so well. They're gonna figure out why, you know, what other shit universe? Oh, My Hero Academia. Why My Hero Academia works so well as a universe? It's because you can take these characters, and because they're not Marvel or DC characters, you can just kind of like flesh them out and do really off the wall weird shit with them. And Valiant just they keep holding themselves back, and I don't know why, but I don't know. Supreme says, on X-Men fans, why do I get the feeling that most of them have never read Kamala's own book? Because they haven't. I can tell you that for a fact. But I can tell you a lot of people who shit talk characters and shit talk entire corners of the Marvel universe or the DC universe or what have you, have never actually read that corner of the Marvel or DC universe or those characters' titles. You know, you're seeing it a lot with Kamala right now, and you see it just like you see it a lot with Superman. You know, how many people shit talk Superman, and then you ask him, okay, well then, what Superman comics have you read? And they say none, because Superman's boring. And it's like, same thing with Kamala Khan detractors, or people who are trying to tear down the comic version of Kamala Khan to build up the MCU version of Kamala Khan. Yeah, it's a lot of people who just They haven't read the comics, but they really like the MCU. And they know that in the comics she's an Inhuman, and Inhuman bad. So I don't like that thing. Tear it apart so I can build up the thing I like. That's all that is. Adam says, to be fair, Miguel O'Hara was the originator of the organic web shooters. Granted, he slammed into a machine that made him get the web shooters. Makes no sense, but asking for reality in fiction is pointless. Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know. I'm of two minds on that at this point. Because okay. I don't think you need to make fiction like hyper real to the point where you're asking universe breaking questions like, how does Spider-Man walk on walls if he has like rubber soles on his shoes? Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Just fucking mouth. Shut your mouth. It's not important. Or like, how does Superman superhero work? It doesn't make sense, How can you hear everything around the world if you... I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up. Just for a second. I just need you to... But I do think that it is interesting to examine those... like some of the more like, I don't know, outlandish concepts, and like kind of give interesting lore based reasons behind them. I think that's kind of alright. Like it's one of the things where I don't need you to provide an explanation for every little nitty gritty detail in comics, but I mean if you feel like it, I don't have a problem. Like I don't really have a problem with someone offering like an in-continuity answer for why Superman is able to fly. I don't mind there being like an in-continuity reason for why mutants are hated as opposed to why Spider-Man and the Avengers are loved for the most part. In fact, there's a whole run built around that idea. It's in Grant Morrison's X-Men. You can check out my videos about that, and you can also just read the book. But you should, if you want to read those, you should buy them quickly because I think the Grant Morrison run on X-Men is going out of print. But yeah, no, like I don't know, I don't mind like realistic answers being kind of like presented in superhero comics. I'm fine with that. Who here remembers when they made the masterpiece Age of Ultron? You're banned. Sorry, Adam. You're not banned, but you're in timeout banned. Like you have to wear a little dunce cap and strip naked and sit in the corner of the room while everyone pelts rubber bands at you. Just like we all did in middle school. Because that's a normal thing that happens in middle school, right? Yeah. It wasn't just me and my tortured existence. But yeah, no. Never bring up Bendis' Age of Ultron ever again. That comic is abhorrent. I love Bendis, but like as soon as Marvel started trying to like make Bendis the big cosmic event guy, that's really when I feel like Bendis started to like waver and lose his way. I don't inherently believe that comic book writers should be limited to niches or corners, but some of them should. It's all in recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses. For Bendis, I think his strength lies in, street level like the gritty kind of like, you know, noirish, pulpish, detective-y stuff. Less so the universe breaking, cosmic, gods and monsters scale material. I just don't think he's suited for a lot of that, and his career kind of shows it. He has a hell of a Daredevil run. In fact, he probably has the best Daredevil run, and I will defend that. I will straight up say here and now, I think Bendis has the best run on Daredevil so far. I legitimately believe that. But Jesus, just everything else. Well, not everything else. You know, Alias is great, but all the superhero-y stuff, it's just no. Supreme Omega says, in terms of adaptations, do you feel Miles had the better luck than Kamala? Fuck yes. I'm sorry, I should answer the rest of your question. Since Spidey Rights is co-owned by Sony, both Into the Spider-Verse and Miles Morales, the video game, can go outside of the MCU bubble. Well, I don't think it's a necessarily like an MCU bubble kind of thing. I just think that a lot of the people working in Sony Animation and the people working on the video games for Spider-Man, they just get the character, whereas a lot of the people working at Marvel in comics and the movies, you're just kind of like, I don't know, they don't get Spider-Man. I just don't think they get Spider-Man. But I mean, it's also a weird thing because Kamala Khan, I don't think anybody outside of G. Willow Wilson gets Kamala. Like, dude, I'm trying to read some other Kamala Khan Miss Marvel stuff, but like, holy crap, Champions is terrible. Like, Champions is like legitimately not good. And I love me some Mark Waid. As a writer, I think Mark Waid is a great writer. But dude, just it's not just Kamala. Mark Waid's not great at writing teenagers. Again, I don't subscribe to the whole idea that like if you're above a certain age, you shouldn't, you know, write younger characters. Mark Waid makes a case for why that should be. It's definitely like one of those, you know, Steve Buscemi walking down a hallway with a skateboard slung over his shoulder, going like, "How do you do, my fellow kids?" Also, that whole book is just like very tone deaf. We're the kids of the future, and the Avengers don't get it. You know, we had a superhero battle, and it destroyed the subway system. Now, how are these people gonna get to work? Sam Wilson offering like the most sober and grown-up answer imaginable. It's not our job. There are people in the city who are hired to do this. If we clean up the problem, well, then we would be depriving the people who get paid to do this for a living of work and money so they can feed their families. Best we can do is like clean up the rubble and make sure that there are survivors. That's a real answer. There's a real adult answer. And then Kamala Khan and like all the other teenage Avengers are like, no, well, you're just a fogey. What? Which would be fine if the narrative understood that the children were being petulant and annoying, but I don't think Mark Waid or Jim Zub or anyone else who was writing Champions got that. And it just kind of comes off as not great. Not great. But yeah, no, I just don't think a lot of people understand Kamala as a character outside of G. Willow Wilson. Granted, I haven't seen the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel TV show. I'm sure, powers aside, it's probably a decent show. Iman Vellani, is that her name? I don't know her name. But she looks the part. You know, she's adorable. She looks really good in the costume. I like her voice a lot. You know, that's a big thing for me. If an actor just kind of embodies the role so much to the point where I can kind of like feasibly hear them when I'm like reading comics, that's a big deal for me, at least. And Vellani's voice it feels very Kamala-y. But yeah, no, just in terms of who has like better adaptations, I mean, I would say like Miles, but that's because Miles has more adaptations because Miles is a Spider-Man character. So that's where that comes from. Yeah. On Spidey, have you watched the 70s Japanese live-action Spider-Man show? It's a show where Spider-Man pilots a mecha, rides a motorcycle, and carries a machine gun. Based. Unequivocally based. But no, I have not watched that show. I want to, though. I just don't know where to find it. I mean, if it's like on the internet nebulously, and by nebulously on the internet, I mean if it's on YouTube, then yeah, I'll try and find it. But yeah, that's one I just haven't had any luck finding. Apparently, though, that show was the birth of the Sentai craze. Didn't know that before, but someone told me that. Granted, I haven't looked into it, so it's just like some Joe Schmo at like my local comic shop telling me a thing, and I'm now relaying that information to you, which is how we get the spread of misinformation. But if true, that's really cool, and just goes to show that Spider-Man, he hit it first. And that's what makes him the greatest superhero of all time. On Jim Shooter, with both New Universe and 90s Valiant, he wanted to create a shared superhero universe where characters age in real time and grounded realistic stakes. It's a shame that both eventually failed. Yeah, well, that sucks, but I mean, okay, here's the real thing. Were these stories interesting, though? Were these stories that were worth reading? Because a lot of this just sounds like Heroes to me, like a proto version of the TV show Heroes. Which, I mean, it probably works as like, you know, one title that kind of like has an epic cast of characters, and they all kind of like bounce off one another in very interesting ways, but like as a whole line, I don't know if I'd be like super interested in that personally. It's probably why it ended up failing, because it just wasn't interesting. Spring says, on Kamala being an Inhuman, there was a comma there that I just kind of completely ignored, like a redheaded stepchild. Also known as Jason Todd. On Kamala, being an Inhuman was beneficial for her because she was a big fish in a small pond, and this allowed her to be an independent hero in Jesus Christ? Judas Contract? The fuck is JC? Oh, Jersey City? Yeah, okay, my bad. Yeah, obviously Jersey City. Making her a mutant will potentially tie her down to the X-Men. I feel you. I'm kind of weird in that I don't care. Like, I get why a lot of Kamala Khan fans are like upset, and like potentially like really nervous about the idea of Marvel retconning Kamala's inhuman like background to making her just a mutant. I get it, but I also don't care. I'm like one of those weird like Miss Marvel fans where she had a lot of great interactions with she had a lot of great interactions with the Inhumans, and I like that run by G. Willow Wilson a lot. But it is one of those things where nothing outside of the G. Willow Wilson run has been good with Kamala Khan. So you know if they make her a mutant in the comics, guess what? It's just another layer of crap on just a giant pile of crap cake that I'm not checking out. That sounded really bitter. I didn't want it to sound that bitter, but that's just that's how I feel. You know, I'm just being frank. I'm not vibing with the current Kamala Khan run. Now, do comic runs get better? Fuck yes. And if someone tells me otherwise, they do tell me that like the Kamala Khan run has gotten better, then I'll check it out. But until then, the G. Willow Wilson run is enough for me. Hello, Tubby. What's up, buddy? I'm fine with Kamala being a mutant. Yeah, me too. I read Judgment Day issue number 1, and frankly, I am burned out with heroes fighting hero events. I feel you, but that's like also Marvel's MO. Like, Marvel Comics has done events where heroes fight heroes, or they have been doing events with heroes fighting heroes since like 1961. So like, that's just kind of Marvel Comics thing. But no, I did read the Axe, and I liked it a lot. And one of the things that really kind of excites me about it, and I wasn't really looking to get invested in like an event, but just like Dark Crisis, better than I expected. I had the same thing with Dark Crisis. So I read the beginning of Dark Crisis and was like, oh well. I mean, I wasn't looking to start following an event, but like, oh, it was actually not bad. I thought Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day. I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I thought it was better than it had any right to be. No, I like the concept. One of the big things that really fascinates me about this whole Judgment Day event is you have this notion of relative godhood, and you see this a lot throughout Marvel Comics thematically. Not so much with the street level superhero stuff, but with the more like cosmic, epic, grand scale material. I don't know, just kind of I think kind of putting pitting the X-Men under the Krakoa era, where they are essentially immortal, against the Eternals, who are the original Immortals, and throwing the Avengers, who represent the standard based like human, the Earth humans, the Humes, in the middle of this conflict, where humans want to be immortal too. Isn't it a little unfair that we don't get to also revel in the joys of eternity, just like these two god factions. Like, I don't know. I think it's very fascinating. I also think that the Judgment Day, the first issue, it really turned me around on a lot of stuff that's going on in the comics currently. Like, for example, I'm not a big fan of Jason Aaron's take on the Avengers, but I don't know, having them operate out of the hollowed out corpse of a Celestial is really interesting. When you consider that the Avengers do see themselves as the gods on Mount Olympus, and they're not really that, but you know, they're kind of LARPing as that. I think it's interesting. You know, I like Judgment Day quite a bit. I thought it was really fascinating. Bendis' Age of Ultron was so bad it made no sense. Bendis cannot write Superman or anything in DC Comics. Damn shame. I'm sure he could do like something interesting. It's just I didn't like his Superman. Last thing on MCU Kamala, if they didn't want the Inhuman connection, they could have had her powers come from an accident by one of the villains, like the Inventor. It would have kept her grounded in Jersey City. I agree. I guess, like, on a concept level, I don't know what the show does because I haven't watched the show, and I'm probably just not gonna watch the show. But yeah. Anyways, those are like the I don't know. I was gonna go somewhere with this, but my brain is going like a million different directions. I like just ate a Snickers bar before I did this. So I am caffeinated at 12 in the morning. Oh, it feels good. But we're here to talk about comics. This is Let's Talk Comics. So let's talk about the comics that I read this week. Yeah, here's the reason why I was actually late to do the stream. It's a really old issue of Heavy Metal. My comic book store just like had these in the clearance section. I was like, this looks cool, so I'm just gonna pick this up. I really enjoy a lot of these like old school like Heavy Metal anthology books. They're really fun. You find a lot of really good art in these. I mean, you find a lot of like art in here that you also would never in a million years look at, but stuff like this. This is very like manga inspired. And I unfortunately feel like we don't talk enough about manga's influence on Western comics. Even though it is like undeniable. This is gorgeous. I hope I didn't show you guys an explicit page, by the way. That's another thing about Heavy Metal. Very much not for all ages. But yeah, no, I'm liking the Jesus. Yep, that's not for all ages. What page can I show you? Crap. These are just like talking scenes. There's nothing dynamic happening in here, but like the art's so good. Anyways, I don't know, but yeah, no, I really like Heavy Metal. I ended up getting like 3 of these actually, just because they were in the clearance section. I'm kind of a whore for science fiction. Despite the fact that Heavy Metal started out as a consummate like fantasy anthology series, but after getting more into Berserk, I'm kind of I'm dipping my toe. This is a finger, but imagine if my finger was a toe. I'm dipping my toe in the water. Just fa la 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 la. I'm getting into it. But yeah, no, that a lot of heavy metal stuff is really cool and interesting, and I'm glad I kind of have that in my collection now. A lot of really good art in there too, and I know heavy metal has a lot of famous artists, or artists that we consider famous today, who got their start at heavy metal back in like the 90s and the late 80s. So it's always interesting to go back and see like, oh, what did so and so do back when they were like 19? Holy crap, this does not look like their artwork at all, but like interesting to compare it from like, what they were doing back then to now. Yeah. Speaking of then, I also have this gem, Volume 1 of Jonathan Hickman's The Avengers. Now it's kind of it's kind of funny. So I'm one of the first people to like bitch and moan about how the Avengers for the past like 15 or so years has basically just been a baby Justice League. Well, okay. I'm not saying I take that back, but I mean, this does it really well. like this. Okay, this takes like the baby Justice League concept for the Avengers and like actually makes it very interesting, and also makes it like horrifying, because one of Hickman's big things that he's not he's a superhero writer. I don't want to make it sound like hyper pretentious, like, oh, he doesn't write superheroes. He writes adventures about characters who happen to be superheroes. I don't want to pitch it like that because that just sounds like uppity and just annoying as fuck. But I mean, he's not writing superheroes. He's writing about characters who just happen to be superheroes. And that's kind of just what this whole series is. It's really good. It's really good. I mean, I don't think you need to hear me say that. Like, I think everybody who's read Hickman's Avengers says it's really good, because it is really good. I'm glad that I was finally able to get my hands on this copy, because at least at my local comic shop and even some of the comic shops that I've visited around the country over the past like year or two, it's been an absolute pain in the ass to get these. So I'm glad that Marvel's finally putting these back in print. And hopefully next week I can get Volume 2 if it's not too expensive. Because that is one of the big things as to why I didn't get these immediately as they were coming out. Look at this little price down here. Look at that price down there, huh? I'm not sure if you can see that, but that says $34.99. This comic is $35. This bitch is expensive, dude. Not that that's anything new. Like, Marvel Comics have always been needlessly expensive. Marvel Comics trades and graphic novels have always been needlessly expensive. But yeah, I'm glad I can finally read through this entire thing. Because I've read Hickman's run like here and there. But I wasn't really like a big enthusiastic Avengers reader until like recently. So yeah, I'm excited to check this out, especially after going through Hickman's Avengers run, which I'm still filling in. But God, that's just so amazing. I totally understand why Rob from Comics Explained was like practically jizzing out of his ears every time he got a chance to talk about Hickman's Fantastic Four. Hickman's just a great writer, straight up. Speaking of great writers, we also have Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 5. I'm liking this series a lot. It just continues to be a really fun, like, deep dive into the heart and soul of the DC universe. It's a really beautifully drawn series. Dan Mora continues to just butter my balls and call me biscuit baby. Like this art is glorious. This series is probably one of my favorite DC comics coming out right now. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This remains the most DC comic that DC Comics is publishing right now. And you know, Mark Waid is kicking real ass in terms of the writing. He gets these characters. He doesn't just get Batman, he doesn't just get Superman, but he understands their relationship, he understands their dynamic. And I'm just a big fan of this. I absolutely love it. It's everything that I love about DC Comics in one series. Bendis is a street level god and a cosmic level pleb. That's like my new insult for people. You're a cosmic level pleb. I'm just gonna start telling that to people. They're not gonna know what the fuck I'm saying, but I'll know what the fuck I'm saying, and that's all that matters. Why do Marvel Comics writers don't understand Spider-Man and cannot write a good Spider-Man story to save their lives? Well, I think a charitable answer is that a lot of Marvel Comics writers, they want Peter Parker to be the same character that he was in, like, 1981. And the character's progressed since then. So just kind of trying to keep the character stagnant is... That's the problem that Peter Parker has. Just people wanting to make Spider-Man great again and regressing him to what he was like 30 years ago. He's just not that character anymore. He can't be that character anymore. Is what it is. Any opinion on Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel in Civil War 2? Yeah, I feel the same way about Kamala that I feel about everybody in Civil War 2. Terribly written, out of character. Oops, sorry. Have you read the this from Josiah? Have you read the Lemire, Bendis, and Bemis Moon Knight runs? And what did you think about them? I have read Lemire's run on Moon Knight. I have it right up there. I like it a lot. It was one of the first Moon Knight series that I read with I think Greg Smallwood was doing the art for a lot of that. But there's also like other like guest artists like James Stokey and it's Greg Smallwood, James Stokey. I mean, there's a few others, but I know Smallwood did the majority of the art in that series. I was floored. It came out during that whole like Marvel Now era, and I thought it was the one of, if probably not the best comic coming out of Marvel Now. At that point, I absolutely love Jeff Lemire's run on Moon Knight. And despite not being a fan of the Moon Knight Disney Plus series, I really like that they pulled from the tone and the aesthetic of Greg Smallwood and Jeff Lemire's run on Moon Knight. But Bendis, I never read Bendis's Moon Knight. A lot of people told me that it's weird and only really worth the final like issue or two when Moon Knight freaks out and cuts off Bushman's face and wears it. Interesting. Still haven't read that stuff yet, but I definitely will. Um, sorry. I need water in my face. As for Bemis though, I never finished the Bemis run. I liked it based off what I was reading. Although apparently a lot of Moon Knight like purists are not a fan of it. So I don't know. I guess maybe if I check out more Moon Knight and get good, I'll feel the same way. But as of right now, I still think that the Bemis run was pretty alright. If anything, I was more put off with the fact that Lemire's run on Moon Knight ends in such a way where, I mean, there'd be no real reason for Mark to continue being Moon Knight, but he does, and I don't get it. But it's, hey man, you know, it's Moon Knight's one of those weird characters where every run offers you something completely different and is like a glorified just a reboot of the character. So I don't know. I still like I think the Bemis run is pretty alright. Just taking it on its own merits. Tabby says I'm going to bed. Alright, good night, buddy. Supreme says, reading through the fan letters of the early 90s Spider-Man issues, most fans like the marriage. So how come writers and editors still dislike married Pete? How could they be so out of touch with their own readership? So here's an answer that I'm sure you don't want to hear, but editors behind comics, specifically Marvel and DC, editors are just kind of like glorified, like, producers. You know the way that like movie producers are talked about as just kind of being like vapid and like, just I don't care. I don't care how the movie gets made. Just make it. And I don't like that scene. You know, you have a whole scene where Superman he's gonna go bomb the Kryptonian ship with the ship that he landed on Earth in as a baby. I don't get that, because how is he gonna get back to Krypton? You know, like, and the same with the producers are just kind of, I don't know, not all there intellectually. I think editors are the same way. It's just the same problem. It's the same exact problem. Oh, these nerds, they're mad that Peter Parker is single, just like them, and not like, you know, dating super hot redheaded ginger wife who's a model, because they want to vicariously live through Peter. It's like, well, no, that's not why nerds are mad. Nerds are mad because Peter had a legitimately well-written, well-crafted, like, character journey from the 1961 Amazing Fantasy 15 up to like the married years. You know, that's character building. Getting rid of that and just kind of ripping the whole thing down kind of flies in the face of that progression. You know, you're actually regressing the character. That's what a lot of you know, fans don't like. But all editors here is they don't like it because I'm smart and they're dumb and they don't understand my brilliance. That's just how a lot of editors are, unfortunately. Not all of them, you know. There's certainly a lot of editors out there who like have like really good takes and are really, you know, willing to hear the creators out, but I don't know, just a lot of editors aren't that. A lot of editors are just kind of vapid. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep in that, but Toby says, do you believe Marvel needs to take a page from Superman Rebirth and give Peter his daughter Mayday Parker back in the main universe? No. I don't think so. I think that Peter should definitely grow up. I think Peter should get a wife. I think Peter should get a nice stable job. But I don't think you should Superman Rebirth the Peter Parker from the Renew Your Vows universe with the main Peter Parker. I think that would be pretty disastrous, I'm gonna be honest. Oh yeah, what else I have this week? Alright, well, I guess, you know, let's keep talking about the comics right this week. Next comic is Black Adam #2 by Christopher Priest. And okay, so I don't know who this Sandoval person is, but their art looks really cool. Like, this is great. Just opening spreads like this is really cool. Also, check out the variant cover that I got. It says White Adam. Like, that's the actual name that they give him. They give him the name White Adam, which they make fun of. I mean, it's low hanging fruit, but like, you can't call yourself White Adam and be Arab and someone not make a joke about that. But yeah, dude, no, like I'm really digging this whole run. Great, it's like 2 issues in, but I'm super excited for issue 3. It's definitely a slow burn, but a lot of Priest books are. But no, I really enjoyed it. And last but not least is Jurassic League #3. This is another comic that I just think is I love it so much. I love it so much. It's cute, dude, bro. Okay, you have the Justice League as dinosaurs, and they're fighting the Legion of Doom as dinosaurs. Look, it's not deep. It's not, you know, anything super special or like intellectually, but it's fucking fun. It's fun, and it is balls to the dick insane and just bonkers, but in the best way possible. Like, not, I don't mean bonkers in the way that like it's stupid. Granted, this comic is stupid. It knows that it's stupid, but like it's playing the absurdity 100% straight, and that also kind of makes the book a little funnier, but it's really good. They also introduced like this ominous kind of like threat in like one of the underground manors of I don't know. I guess Midgard, Earth, whatever. No, still really good. I like the series a lot. And I can't wait to just read more of it. It's really fun. David says, I love Jurassic League. It's tons of fun. I agree. I think it's great. Remix says, hey, what's up, Remix? How you doing, buddy? Some editors also only care about bringing back what they consider the iconic version of characters, and consequences be damned. That's also a big problem. A lot of it just kind of goes back to ego. You know, like, no, I'm intelligent, and the stuff I like is great. The stuff I don't like is terrible. So if I get my hands on this thing, I'm gonna gut the stuff I don't like and make this character everything that I do like. It just be how it be, brother. It be how it be. But yeah. I don't know. I'm actually unfortunately gonna make this like kind of a short stream because I'm just super tired. I should have started this way earlier, but I don't know. I was having fun reading comics. But hey, as always, thank y'all for coming out. I love seeing you guys. Absolutely fantastic and beautiful. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for hitting the like button, and you showed up and supported me with just, I don't know, just the algorithm appreciates the like button, right? It's not a placebo. I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for engaging. Really good conversation. And yeah, as always, until next time. Adios. Adios.